Welcome into the Rumbles of Red. I'm your host, Trevor Steinbacher. As you see, we've got some guests here with us today. If you are following on the YouTube Live, as you enter in, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, comment as you will. In the chat, ask us questions, interact with the show. We're here to answer the questions, have a little roundtable discussion about our 2020 fantasy seasons. You're going to hear some ups and downs, some of our strategy going forward into next year, and of course, a lot of banter going back and forth. If you're listening after the fact on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review there as well. And now that the housekeeping is all taken care of, let's go ahead and jump in. I'll do some quick introductions. Matt Westhoff, you know him from our Bets from the West segments throughout the season. He came on, talked a little DFS as well with us. We welcome him back. Chris Greve is our staple sponsor of the show with Homefront Realty. You heard all about Homefront Realty all season long. And we heard from Chris early in the season in a mid-season interview. We welcome him back again. And our newest guest, Preston Page, thanks for joining us. He's got plenty of fantasy football experience. He's got a podcasting experience, which you'll hear about a little later on as well. Thank you, all of you, for joining us. Let's have some fun. And I'm going to start kicking it over to you guys. What are we drinking tonight, and how'd your fantasy season go? Matt, start us off.
Drinking a nice Silver Bullet Coors Light. I was in 6 leagues this year. I had a really good regular season. Postseason was probably pretty terrible, all things considered. I set the scoring record in your keeper league only to get bounced in the first round. I got bounced by Greve, who we'll hear from in a little bit, in our Dutch Rudder League. I believe I was the 1 seed in that as well. Fleetwood, the league that I commission, I was the 2 seed. That's actually a winner-take-all league. I did make it to the championship game, but lost. House of Cards is in a full rebuild. We'll talk a lot about that as we go on. And then Preston's league, the NFL platform, was just not my year at all in that league. So, like I said, good regular season, but just did not finish. Things just did not fall my way at all.
Yeah, I'm always terrible in Preston's league. I don't know why. Every single year. I think we talked about at the beginning of the year, every year. Chris, how'd the season go?
Well, I'm terrible in Preston's league too. I don't know what it is. I don't even know if I've made the playoffs in Preston's league. But I'm also in 6 leagues. As Matt said, I beat him and got first place in 1 league. House of Cards, I didn't make the playoffs, but I also did not finish last. So that is a plus. My other 2 leagues, I got second and third place. So, I mean, I make money. That's all I do. So, I'm doing all right. And I'm drinking. This isn't my beer, so it's good.
Free and open. That's what I like.
Yep. All right.
So my choice of beverage tonight's the old Busch Light. It's pretty much a staple here in Southeast Kansas. As far as fantasy, I'm in 3 leagues. 1, I'm in the commish, which you guys are all in there. And I just actually looked up the standings, how we finished that league. Greve, you finished 9th out of 14. Westhoff, you finished 13. I was 12. And Trevor, you were 11. So we got a lot of knowledge, obviously, coming into you.
That's so good.
From this video. Yeah, I was in another league. I finished 12th out of 16. That league's tough. It's 16 teams. Keeper league. You're like limited to 2 transactions per week. So you get injuries, especially this year with COVID, made it hard. House of Cards. I ended up I actually got 4th place, but I made the playoffs, so it wasn't terrible.
Well, Logan hit the nail on the head here. I feel like we all went after the Sacco and Preston's league. So absolutely right. My season, it didn't go well either. My 2019 season was excellent. I think I had 3 or 4 championships. I was rocking it. This year it was like flip the script, 9 leagues, 5 playoffs, and I've talked about it a lot on my podcast. There was 2 leagues that I was top 3 in scoring, and I missed the playoffs by a week or a game, which was just annoying. 4 first-round knockouts out of the 5 I made the playoffs. So 1 second-place finish, that's what I can hang my hat on, in one of my other dynasty leagues. So rather nightmarish for me as well. But let's talk about some moves. Let's go back in time. Let's look back into that season and just talk about what was a great move that you made. And before we start talking about what moves we made, I'd like to, if you're in the chat, hit the like button, but also what player did you acquire, whether it be trade or pickup or free agency, whatever it is, who did you acquire this year to help you in your fantasy season? And Chris, get us started here. What was the best move you made this season?
So in the House of Cards, I ended up trading Lynn Bowden, who I drafted last year.
Who's she?
I don't know. I felt like I was under a lot of pressure, and I just felt like he was the best pick at the time. I don't know why, but anyways, I traded him in my first round draft pick for this year for Tony Pollard and Scary Terry. I mean, I don't want to bash this other guy. I think it was in my favor. Scary Terry's going to do good. Really young wide receiver, and I have Ezekiel Elliott as one of my main running backs. So having his handcuffs really good for me. I also picked up Jeffrey Wilson in that league, so I'm interested in seeing how that turns out. Other than that, I didn't really do a lot of trading or pick up anybody that was worth anything. So that's all I got.
You always have to handcuff your running backs.
Oh, yeah. That's actually – in House of Cards, it's the only reason why I almost made the playoffs, because I just picked up a bunch of backup running backs hoping that one would play. So I just rode them through the weeks and almost made it, but Preston ruined that. But anyways.
Preston, what about you? What's the best move you made this season?
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious I didn't make very many good moves. Honestly, probably my best move, I think is actually right before our rookie draft. I don't remember. Something was going on around the house. I was too busy. I didn't want to draft. So Matt actually traded me Darren Waller. I looked this up. Waller and D.D. Westbrook, which obviously didn't amount to anything. But Waller had he finished second in the league?
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. So that was good. I gave up Gasecki, a second rounder and a third rounder in that move, but I mean, it worked out in my favor because I really didn't know what I'd get in the draft anyways. I hadn't done a whole lot of research, but that would probably be the best one. I think in the middle of the season, I did a move for Chubb. Chubb and a draft pick with Schultz. And I think I received Jacobs and a couple other draft picks, which Jacobs, looking back, I don't know, but those are probably actually the one with Matt would probably been my top one because at the time I didn't have any tight ends really. I guess I had besides Gesicki.
Well, we saw today Russell Wilson. He's ready to go to Las Vegas, so maybe that'll help Darren Waller even more.
Dude, Seattle. I said this in a group chat to Trevor and a couple other guys earlier today, but if I'm Seattle, I would fire Pete Carroll.
Yeah, that's
before I would trade Russell Wilson. All he does, they do it every year. They ball out for the first 6 weeks of the year. They just let Russ bomb it everywhere. AKA, that's why I continue to draft Tyler Lockett every year because he's money. He's a top 3 receiver for the first half of the season, and then he's pretty much a top 36 receiver the rest of the way because Pete gets into the late in the year and he wants to run the ball. And it's just ridiculous. It's absolutely maddening.
Yeah, there's no way they actually get rid of Russ.
I can't imagine either, but I'd be shocked.
If they just do the opposite, that'd really help us fantasy owners out.
Throw the ball.
And they haven't had a running back like since.
I would take
Marshawn.
the first 6 weeks of doing nothing, and then the last.
Do it in the end. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
Try some Pete Carroll ball early in the season, and then let Russ cook late in the year. I'd be fine with that.
Matt, what was the best move you made this season? And hopefully it's not my worst move that I will be talking about.
No, I'll let you have that. When I was looking this up, kind of looking back on things, I didn't for 6 leagues. Didn't have a whole lot of trades. I was still doing some adds and drops and here and there, but I wasn't super active. Actually, did not make a trade in Preston's league, which surprised me. But going back to like week 13, I traded David Montgomery for Joe Burrow straight up. Joe Burrow was obviously on IR and out, and I was making a push for the playoffs in Fleetwood. And I traded him to one of the Pickerels. I don't know which one, but and Montgomery proceeded to go 26, 24, 28, 19, 27 over the next 5 weeks in the PPR league. So finished RB6 on the year too. I think people probably don't realize that, but so that was definitely far and away my best move. And I got some. I'll probably talk about this later in the show as well. But I got some Robert Tonyan early in the year for cheap. Like, I think everybody was on Steinberger early in the year. I think I even had him on my House of Cards roster maybe at one point. But I picked up Tonyan and a couple things too. Didn't necessarily catapult me anywhere, but turned out all right in the long run.
I picked up Robert Tonyan and then traded him way too early. I should have held on. Like, if I would have held on 2 or 3 more weeks, I feel like I would have got a little bit more than what I got for him, but it happens.
I think you tried to trade him to me at one point, and I was like, never heard of her.
Yeah, exactly. And he ended up as the 3rd best tight end in the league for fantasy purposes.
It's going to be Waller. Like, he's the one, right? I don't know how old he is. But he's the one, him and Kelsey both, that are like, when are you going to trade them in Dynasty? Waller's 28. He's probably all right. That tight end bracket is closer to the wide receiver than it is the running back. So I think you're probably safe there, but it's Derek Carr. So we got that going for us too. What do you got, Red?
Check into this comment before I go in there. A Cowboy, which I did see that too, and I also have seen that Dak and Dallas have not really gotten close to terms. So if Dallas was just like, no, see you later, Dak, and goes trades for Russ, that would be something else. But what's up, Canfield? So for me, I made a phenomenal trade. And I've been ready to tell you guys about it just because I still can't believe it actually happened. In week 6, Sunday morning before the game started, I traded Joe Mixon and Chase Claypool for Dalvin Cook. So if you think back, Dalvin Cook doesn't play week 5 due to injury. Week 6 is his bye week. So the manager I'm trading, this is in our Kansas City League of my homies, the manager I'm playing is now not going to get any points from Dalvin Cook for the 2nd straight week. But it's only week 6, so I'm not in a panic. I don't really care if I get 0 points. He goes on to score 48 and 39 points in week 7 and week 8. So smash that, obviously. Ends up as RB2 in this PPR scoring standpoint. But the kicker is Joe Mixon did not play another game after week 6, which I didn't go into the trade like, oh, this is Joe Mixon's last week. Get rid of him. I wanted to get Dalvin Cook. I was aiming for Dalvin Cook. I went after him in multiple leagues. This league, I actually found somebody who was desperate enough to finally trade him, and it worked out really well. It didn't catapult me into winning the championship, unfortunately, as it's one of the leagues I got knocked in the first round. But like if you take Chase Claypool and Joe Mixon from week 7 to 17 versus Dalvin Cook, I clearly won the trade. It was the best trade I made all year. And to get Dalvin Cook at that price point, essentially, I think it was like 2 weeks later, the guy came back. It's like, can I get Dalvin Cook back? No. And I don't want Joe Mixon because he, obviously he wasn't playing there. So,
what about Claypool? When did he start his decline though? Or when did he?
Yeah, he still had a fine season, but he was just so inconsistent. Like he would have his blow up games, right? Whereas, I mean, anytime you can get a top 5 running back in fantasy football, it's very, very important. And so he still was fine. I think he ended up a top 36 wide receiver, maybe even top 24. I didn't look that up, but
but I mean, what weeks was he really, really hot? Was that middle of the year?
They were in the middle of the year. Yeah, probably 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there. So
when Juju
I missed
was
out
like
on some of those. Yeah, I missed out on some of those. But when I get 48 the first week, I had Dalvin Cook, and he goes on to finish his RB2. I was like, absolutely, I'll take it. So we make great moves, but we also make really bad moves. I have a terrible move that I don't want to tell you guys about, but I will tell you all about it. In the chat, if you're in the chat here, thanks for joining us. What bad moves did you drop a player? Did you trade a player away? Did you trade away Dalvin Cook in week 6 before he goes off? What move did you make and regret? Let us know in the chat so we can kind of bask in this nonsense of sadness with you as we go through our worst moves, starting with Preston. What was your worst move of the season?
So to be honest, I'm not like probably Dallas and try to trade anybody and everybody and the dog on your team for the other dog, but I don't make a whole lot of.
I'm glad you brought that up.
I don't make a whole lot of moves. Just one that kind of chapped my ass. Actually involved you, Chris. It was the week. I don't remember. It was the week that like Josh Jacobs was injured. This had been kind of later in the year. I was making a push for the playoffs. I traded you Devontae Booker, or you had Devontae Booker for it's a 22. I don't know if it's a second or third round pick, which doesn't amount to a whole lot.
It was a second.
Yeah, second. So I had Jacobs. So I needed somebody to. Jacobs was hurt, wasn't supposed to play. I needed a backup. Turns out Jacobs played that game, I'm pretty sure. Wasn't injured, and now I've got Booker, which, I mean, it's not terrible, but as a handcuff, I guess. But that's one that just stuck out to me.
I'd agree. But, Booker, he might show up for you one time next year. You never know.
That's all he needs one time.
Yep, that's all you need.
Matt, what about you? I know you make a lot of bad mistakes.
I've gotten better since then. If we could go back to some of my early trades in DLG with you, yeah, I used to. But again, it just wasn't a super active year for me. I'm looking at my draft from Dutch Rudder. I took a flyer on Bryan Edwards in the 14th round for the Raiders. He was non-existent. Really thought that was going to be something, and just it was all Waller. Like it was just that was it. That was all they had. That was all they could do. And then something that the jury's probably still out on, and this is in DLG, this trade here, but back in October, I traded DJ Moore, Darren Waller, and Will Fuller for Kareem Hunt, Tyler Boyd, and MVS. That's a league I need an RB2. I had Todd Gurley, and I hung on to him a year too long. I regretted letting DJ Moore go, and I'm really going to regret it if Deshaun Watson ends up in Carolina. But I needed that second running back, and so if DJ Moore ends up being a top 8, 10 wide receiver next year, I could regret that one. It's just the jury's still out on it. But and then the 30,000 foot view would be I didn't draft worth a shit apparently in Preston's NFL league because I'm not even sure I scored 100 points in that league any of the weeks.
I took a flyer. I wanted to be different. It was a 14-team league. I wanted to be different. I took Zach Ertz. The one thing I never do, and I decided to do it. Okay. So this is what's going to happen because you made that trade, right? Deshaun Watson goes to Carolina. DJ Moore becomes a wide receiver 1. Will Fuller goes to Green Bay, becomes a wide receiver 1. MVS is non-existent. I mean, you're screwed.
And Kareem hits another woman. I don't know.
I think kicked her. Let's hope he doesn't, but let's not cancel the Rumbles of Red on YouTube already.
Yeah.
I'll pay your
fine. The Browns kicker.
Oh, the Browns kicker. Okay, I got you there. Before you go, Chris, I don't know. I assume this is a good one, right? Drafted Fournette, was able to trade him for Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel had another hard year because of injury, but Fournette was pretty bad. It feels like he was good now, right? Because his playoffs were so great, but his actual fantasy season was pretty terrible. Pretty terrible. Chris, tell us about a bad move.
Oh, the one that came to the top of my mind was just dropping Myles Gaskin because I was
you said drop?
Well, I dropped him because I was playing Preston that week, and I just never really thought he was like a flash of light. Wasn't going to come back. So I'm hoping that he doesn't do anything next year. But I mean, Miami has draft picks to pick up a running back or trade for him. Which, doing my diligent research, it looks like Aaron Jones might go to Miami, so that made me feel better just for dropping Myles Gaskin. But I guess we'll see. But that's kind of the only thing that came to mind there. You definitely could have helped me out. Well, I still wouldn't have made the playoffs, so it doesn't matter. But I wish I wouldn't have dropped him. Being a dynasty league, would have kept him. Because now I have Salvon Ahmed. I'm probably going to end up dropping him. It's definitely a keeper that I could have had, but I dropped him.
I was trying to look up here for you where boy ended up. On points per game, Myles Gaskin right there. I mean, that looks like probably close to top 12, top 15.
Oh, yeah. He was used quite a bit.
If you would have had him and paired him with Ahmed, that would have been fine. You would have been fine there because Salvin came in there at the end of the season and had a couple great games.
Yes, he did.
That's all right, Chris. I've got one too. I'm not even going to show you where he ended up on the standings because you already know where he ended up. But before I get to mine, I wanted to hit on this. Didn't make bad moves. Finished first 5 out of 8 leagues. Well, no brag. You can brag all you want. If you're going to win 5 out of your 8 leagues, brag all you want.
8 leagues, that's pretty good.
Yeah. And I did not make the playoffs in half my leagues, so.
All right, can I just not to interrupt, but so I'm only in 3 leagues, and you guys are like doubled up on that. So how do you guys just in my 3 leagues? I run into problems where I just have a starting running back, but yet you're playing against that player. I'm sure you guys see that all the time. I mean, how do you got to root for him, but you don't want him to do well?
Sometimes I just turn the TV off and don't look at my phone until Tuesday.
Yeah.
Well, and then you add in all the DFS stuff as well.
Yeah.
for me, it's all about your roster construction. And so you don't necessarily I try not to look at just one player versus the other player as much as my entire roster. And if I'm playing against Devontae Adams, but I also have Devontae Adams in a different league, my hope is that the rest of my roster that I'm playing against him does well enough. And
Right.
so I just try to look at each team individually and not even think about my other teams when I'm looking at them. And all of them also have different quirks, right? Whether it's a dynasty or a PPR versus non-PPR and those kind of things. So when I look at one team, I only look at that team and I only focus on that team and then I move on to the next one. I don't try to think like there's times that I'll go like I was heavy. I was trying to go after Christian McCaffrey this year in all my leagues because I felt like he was going to come back. I thought he would be a little bit cheaper than what he should have been. So I would go make feelers and put offers out there in each and every league. But it wasn't, if I get him in one and not the other, it's not, I don't get desperate in a different league because I need him on there. So
Right.
I just kind of just take it league by league.
Trevor should write a fantasy psychology book.
It seems
I
like
don't
two
know
of my
about that.
redraft leagues that I end up with similar teams. And so, I mean, obviously not in dynasties and keeper leagues, but it seems like in my pure redraft leagues, I had a lot of Robbie Anderson this year. I had a lot of Derrick Henry this year. And so it makes that dilemma easier because you do have maybe 3 leagues where you're running out Robbie Anderson every week or whoever it might be. At least that happens for me. It doesn't really matter where I draft from. I was lucky this year and I got the draft mostly in the middle or towards the back end, which is where I want to be anyway. I don't want those top few picks. And so I was able to have similar rosters throughout, but that doesn't always happen either. So, but that makes it easier for me to push aside that dilemma a little bit.
Yeah, I was just thinking, you get up 6, 7, 8, 9 leagues, you run into that a lot. I would
Yeah.
think.
The other thing too that helps is format. Not to go off tangent here, but format helps a lot. I've got, I don't know for sure, but I know I'm in a few 2 quarterback leagues, but this year we started a tight end premium league that was really fun. 1.5 point per reception for tight ends, still 2 quarterback, but at least you had some different value there. The Fleetwood league that I run is completely off the wall. We trade, it's 3 keepers, but we trade draft picks like crazy, and it helps mix it up a little bit. So at least it's got some variability and that kind of stuff.
And Preston, really what it comes down to is your morning bathroom breaks just get a little longer.
Yeah.
You just get a hide from the wife and kids just a little longer because you got a couple extra lineups to get set. That's what it's all about.
On top of your DFS.
Yeah, exactly. They turn into an hour or so, but
Dude,
no one's counting. Well, let me tell you guys about this terrible trade I made at the beginning of the season. Although I'd like to just move on and not tell you that I traded Travis Kelsey. But I did trade Travis Kelsey back in August. And in our DLG league, it's a dynasty league, but it's ultimately like just a keeper league that you can just keep whoever you want. It's weird because we don't do straight up rookie drafts in this dynasty league. So what my plan was to overhaul my team, drop down, get a couple rookie running backs. Clyde was one of those guys I was aiming for. And I ended up with Clyde and Joe Burrow, and I was aiming for a 2021 championship. But to get there, I felt like I needed to get something for Travis Kelsey. I was banking on Travis Kelsey having some regression. He had a great season last year, went into this year with 5 straight tight end number 1 seasons. I just felt like it was the right time. Obviously, we all know how Kelsey's season ended up, and I will talk a little bit more about Kelsey even later on. And then I ended up like the 3rd or 4th seed in this league. And so now all I think about is like, what if I had Travis Kelsey on my team? I feel like I might have been unstoppable. So it hurt I traded him to Matt, so it hurt even more because I saw him win every week. It felt like so. But yeah, I traded Travis Kelsey, I think 1 year too early, and it happened. So, but let's talk about our. Go ahead.
Hey, Travis Kelsey is on the Tom Brady diet, so you can plan on him being around until he's 47.
47. All right. Well, Tom Brady has been a low-end QB1 for 5-6 years, so that's where I'll expect Travis Kelsey to go as well. Let's talk House of Cards. I feel like we've all kind of mentioned House of Cards just a little bit. It's 16-team Dynasty League. If you've been a listener of my show, you've heard me talk about our House of Cards League. We just finished our second full season, and so we're going into just our second rookie draft ever. Excited for that as we kind of move into this offseason. But I want to kind of go around the table. What's your offseason plans for your House of Cards team? Where are you at currently, and what's your plans for this offseason? Matt?
I went 3-9. I'm in 100% rebuild mode. I kind of went all in the first year. There's a snapshot at our standings this year. I'm down there in the bottom. Ace of Spades is me. Like I said, went all in our first year. We pay $800 to first, and so it's a league that guys really want to go after. And I just put myself in a bad position this year. I did trade Josh Allen for a couple first-round picks, one this year and one next year. Sorry, Taylor, but I think I traded Mark Ingram, a third-round pick, and something else I had it wrote down for Josh Allen and Allen Robinson. Yeah, Allen Robinson and Mark Ingram and a third for Josh Allen, and then I flipped it for 2 firsts later in the year. And so I'm not panicking with this league. Like, I'm gonna take best player available. Like that's my goal. I might panic when I get into the draft, but I'm not gonna look at it and be like, I need another running back or I need a quarterback. Like, I will just ride this thing out and take best player available for the next couple of years if that's what I have to do to. Because I sold off so many draft picks trying to win last year, and so I need to kind of get to 2023 or 4. There's a good look at my roster. J.K. Dobbins, banking on that. That was my first round pick this year. Banking on some Devin Duvernay, KJ Hill, Van Jefferson, Denzel Mims. So I got some youth there. So eventually I'll have to do, targets this year are going to be another quarterback potentially, another running back, and then probably a tight end. Those are kind of the 3 spots that you're looking at, but we'll see. I'm not panicking. This is easily probably a 2-year rebuild, if not longer.
Well, I will. I'll do a shameless plug here. And next Thursday night live, we will have. I'm going to have an up and comer from the industry come on and interview. And one of the questions I'm actually asking him, I want to ask about the Stafford trade to LA and how that affects Kupp and Woods. But more importantly, how does that affect Van Jefferson? Do we anticipate Van Jefferson getting a little bit more run next year? So I think yes. I think I think the answer is yes. I think Reynolds' time there is done. He's a free agent this year, so it could be time for a guy like Van Jefferson to step up in year 2. Chris, what's your strategy this offseason?
Oh, well, I'm looking for a running back. I'm not too sure about Zeke. He's not the guy I really traded for, but he could be next year. I feel like he could be. I really need a tight end. And this
You kind of
this
need
league
everything.
is kind of well, Russell's all right for now. My wide receivers are young. Hopefully they keep progressing and keep getting better. This league just really kind of threw me for a loop with all these draft picks. I didn't really know how to value them in the beginning, and I still am kind of cautious on trading them away. It's kind of like a different format than what I'm used to, so I'm chilled, trying to kind of figure things out. I'm just not. I don't know.
We came in hot with those draft picks. I felt like last year, like everybody started trading them away really quickly, and I mean, we're only 2 years in, so I think it's kind of everybody's feeling it out. But yeah, I would agree. I'm not sure what the draft picks values are quite yet either.
I feel like I'm right in the middle, and I don't know. I still have some planning to do. Definitely some trades to do. Hopefully, I don't think my draft picks are going to give me what I want for next year to put me to the top. I'm not quite at rebuilding, but I don't.
You'll be competitive. You're in that lull between tank and playoffs, and you're in one of them wild card spots.
What do Catholics call that place that's in between heaven and hell?
Purgatory.
That's where I'm at.
Chris, I went to the same religion you did. Come on, man.
Hey, I'm just testing you guys, make sure you know.
Chris, I think you're in sell Ezekiel Elliott mode. That's where I think you're at.
Yeah.
I probably should. I feel like he still has another year or two, but it's probably not. I'm usually wrong with that stuff, especially with Mixon doing that in a couple other leagues.
I just think Dynasty is really about that value, and I'm going to talk about that potentially here at the end, a little bit about value and like trying to capitalize on it. But I think that's what really will end up making or breaking anybody in this league, especially being 16 teams. It's a large league and 18 roster spots. I mean, there's a lot of players involved in this, and I think that capitalizing at the right time and not holding on too long, because you're one. I mean, Zeke, for instance.
I feel like Zeke is in purgatory too. He's just right there with me.
Right,
I can't trade up for him, but I'm not going to get enough to trade him away.
Yeah,
I would agree. He's at an all-time low right now. That offensive line isn't what it was. Now you got Dak coming back from injury, maybe not even going to play in Dallas. He's not. You hope he comes out, scores back-to-back games of 25 or more, and you trade him in week 3.
Hell yeah, I'd do that.
Yeah, I'll take him.
Preston, what's your Preston? You made the playoffs, didn't you? Preston, you made the playoffs in this league?
Yeah, I made playoffs. I think I lost in the semifinal game. Looking at the stats you had up earlier, I think I was probably top 3 or 4 in points scored. I'm pretty close, I feel like. I've got a pretty solid core of running backs in my opinion. Chris Carson, I think, depending on situation in Seattle, Josh Jacobs, Melvin Gordon. I'm not sure about him, but I've kind of gone to the strategy of, and like I said, I feel like I'm close. So this is why my strategy is the way it is. But I would rather almost trade away draft picks to get somebody right now. Make the push, because I don't feel like I'm all that far away. I'd like to do something with quarterback. I don't know how much longer Brady's got in him. Of course, a couple games this year he put up some points. Kirk Cousins is definite love-hate relationship.
Depending on if he's at home or away, or
Yeah, it's just Kirk, man. But other than that, I feel like I'm pretty close. I need to get a little more depth at my tight end, but I don't know. It's like I said, I'd almost rather trade my draft picks for a guarantee as opposed to taking a flyer on a rookie. But once again, I feel like I'm fairly close. So
I would agree with that strategy in making, trading your draft picks for the right guy that's going to get you over the hump there. Especially when you're in a position like you are. If you're making the semifinals, like you're close. I have a guy, his name's Danny Dimes. He plays quarterback, New York Football Giants. So, if you need somebody instead of Tom or Kirk, you just let me know.
Yeah.
Be happy to just slide him over to your roster real quick. Won't take much.
Any team with new in front of it, just stay away from it.
I didn't say the New York Jets. I'm not offering him Sam Darnold like Matt would do. Come on now.
Hey, I'm kind of holding out on Darnold. Like
holding out on Darnold to move teams, or
he's got rid of Adam Gase. It can't get worse, right?
That's true.
Like I know we've talked about the scoring in other episodes with Trevor and stuff, but like you don't have to have a top 8 quarterback to win this league. Like it certainly helps, but I'm just going to sit on him. I mean, I drafted him, but I mean, yes, I will target another quarterback if I need to, but I'm not giving up total hope. I just think Adam Gase is a total shit show.
Yeah.
Whenever I've won fantasy leagues, I've never had a good quarterback, so.
You're kind of the king of that.
Yeah, you are.
I think it's called dumb luck.
He doesn't know what he's
Whatever
doing.
it is, it's working.
Well, Matt, you got the
what do you need?
I was gonna see if you've got the draft order pulled up or draft. Yeah, this starts my strategy for House of Cards at the end of the season. I started this strategy at the end of our 2019 season when I started targeting 2021 draft picks, because in my mind, the farther it is down, the less that we think about it, right? Like 2021, yeah, that's a couple years down the road. So I knew 2020 was going to be terrible, and I just ate it. So in 2020 rookie draft, I picked up a couple of young wide receivers and Jerry Jeudy, T. Higgins. I grabbed A.J. Dillon. I've got wide receivers for days. Jalen Reagor, Deontay Johnson, Deebo Samuel. I love my young wide receivers I have. But what I've done is I've really essentially like hoarded all the first round picks for this year. I've got 6 of them and 3 second round picks. And I'm going to go after what I think is the best available. I'm certain running back will be my highest priority, as I don't have any running. I have no starting running backs on my roster currently. Benny Snell, Damian Williams, because somebody dropped him, so I picked him up. He might have a place to play next year. I don't know, but I don't have a starting running back. I haven't played a starting running back all season long. So running back, I'll go heavy there, and I'll go heavy. I'll probably, if I have a chance to snag one of the quarterbacks, but mainly just focus on that running back position and hope that all these second and third year wide receivers next year hit. I'm aiming for a 2022 championship. So I went full rebuild mode. And I think that if you keep with it and you stick with it and you have a plan for rebuild, you can make it happen. I don't think you don't have to sit at the bottom forever. Like if you have a plan, and that's kind of what I went at the end of 2019 when I lost the last game of the regular season on some BS to Dallas. I was like, nope, this is it. I'm done. I'm redoing it. I'm just trying to rebuild from there. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at for this offseason. And I'm excited for it because I got all these first round picks. Man, I'm looking
You should be excited, Trevor, because honestly, I feel like I hate you.
That's great.
it'll be really interesting to watch you cut your players. For the audience out there, this league we're 18 roster spots, but we expand the rosters for the draft. So whoever has the highest number of picks, say it's Trevor, has 12 picks. I don't know how many he has. The rosters that get expanded to, what would that be, 30 players. And so then, say a week out before the regular season, DK.
He knows.
He does.
I'll trade them, DK. They're all up for trade.
Yeah, we cut that back to 18, and so all these players are available in that pool. It's a unique strategy. I've had a couple conversations with Trevor and even other guys in the league about expanding the roster spots, because I think there is something to be said about if you acquire this many picks, maybe your roster should be rewarded for it. But at the same time, with 16 of us being in there, we kind of need to keep it fluid too and keep players moving. Because I think it'd be pretty easy for a roster to go 0-16 and stay down there if we're not keeping these players kind of moving around. So I'll be looking forward to your cuts as well. Shout out DK. Hopefully your pipes aren't frozen in South Texas anymore.
Yeah, no kidding. And you got some electricity back. I think Preston had the most draft picks going into last season or last draft. At least at one point he had the most. Maybe before he traded his first rounder to you.
Yeah, I think I pretty much traded them all away.
Yeah. I remember when we were talking about it, you had the most at one point. But
yeah. But I still think something's wrong because I really don't see my team there in the first 3 rounds, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I actually believe
typo.
Yeah.
I own most of your.
Yeah,
Well,
you got most.
If you look at the first round, it's really like me. Chris has one. Trent has a few, and maybe Houston.
Velvet Revolver's in there a couple times.
Yeah, there's not many of us that even have first rounders.
Yeah, and Trevor, you might as well just draft all the running backs, and then I'll just draft a tight end or something. I don't know.
Kyle Pitts,
don't you dare.
I'm sitting on Darnold Parham, just hoping that Hunter Henry moves on this offseason.
Yeah.
I think that's what's the best about dynasty leagues is that there's so many nuances with different players, and obviously we have no control over what happens, so we just kind of sit around and wait, Yep.
If Aaron Jones leaves, you have A.J. Dillon, which really makes me mad.
Which everybody came after A.J. Dillon this year, and I'm like, I know that Aaron Jones, his contract comes up. Like I'm that's why I have A.J. Dillon.
Yeah.
Well, we're not pushing time too much, but let's do some hot takes. Why not? We got a couple more minutes here. If you're in the chat, thanks for joining us again. Please do hit the like button, but also give us what's your hottest take you have for fantasy football in the NFL right now. Whether it's a player you love for next season, it's a player that if you play dynasty, you're trying to get rid of. Let's do some hot takes here. Preston, I'm going to let you lead it off. Here, Matt, I'll take that off for you.
Thanks,
man.
man.
You can go back to I saw your wife on there, so I figured I'd probably pull it off. Preston, you're up first. Give us your hottest take, boldest stance. What do you got for us?
This doesn't really have to do anything with players, but I'm gonna jump out there and say I'm gonna make it to the championship next year. Like I said, my bold strategy, and I don't know if it's necessarily strategy, but with the little draft picks I have left, I'll probably try to trade those away, maybe get something for the immediate upcoming season. Like I said, 'cause I feel pretty close. So that's kind of my strategy on the 21 season.
Yeah, still just 2021.
Yeah, I don't even know what day it is.
We got to get the commissioner for House of Cards to get us started in the 2021 season so we can get active. I mean, draft season, the NFL draft, it's only 2 months away. So
I
that's
just
when we
saw
got really active last year.
Just saw that today that I don't know when my fantasy league actually rolled over, but we can activate the 2021 league now. So I'll be doing that here shortly.
I remember sitting in quarantine. We're watching the NFL draft on this like weird virtual draft, and like just the texts were going wild because I think we were just all fed up with sitting at home. So we were like, let's trade our draft picks. Let's do dynasty trades. There's nothing else to do. Matt, what's your hot take to leave everybody with?
So, yeah, there you go. Pull up my stats here. Derrick Henry, trade him. Dynasty leagues, keeper leagues. 27 years old, coming off of 303 carries 2 years ago, 378 carries this past year. And the only reason, like, if we look at this, I can't highlight it actually, but if you can see over my cursor, we have 99 running back sample size. Of the ages of 26, they have a 9% chance of finishing as a top 5 running back. We go to the next year at 27, which is what Derrick Henry will be when he enters this season. That literally drops 2/3 down to 3%. It's kind of tough to see, I know, Chris. For whatever reason, I found this interesting, but with both sides, if you look at the top 5 and the top 12, it bounces back up at age 28, but then look at the fall off when we get to 29 years old as these running backs age. And I guess the point is, I would rather be a year early than a year late. That's the take home message, right? We've talked about Travis Kelsey already a little bit in this. Yeah, you missed out on historically the greatest season ever as a tight end, but what if he's tight end 9 this year? And I think that's what we're going for with Henry, or at least that's the mountain I'm going to stand on, is if I'm in a position where I'm not winning now, I'm not playing for a championship in a dynasty league, I'm trading him. He's at an all-time high. He still had a killer playoff run. Get rid of him. Get all the draft capital players you can, and build that team, because the data's there. I mean, look at the sample sizes. Look at the percentages. You get past 28, which he's only a year away from, and it's on the downhill slide. Math doesn't lie.
So you talk about Derrick Henry on this, but I think there's some other running backs out there, right? I mean, Alvin Kamara just signed his second deal. Joe Mixon just signed his second deal. There's a bunch of guys in this past offseason that signed like that second deal, that with running backs, it feels like once they get in that second deal, they hit a wall eventually, right?
And the NFL they continue to do it. You almost have to kind of commend the Chiefs on it. I mean, obviously Kareem somewhat put him in that situation on his own. We don't know what they would have done there, but they run a rookie and another guy, and like I don't know, like it's almost to the point where you could draft rookie running backs, play them for 2 years, sell them off, and do it again. I mean, I'm kind of waiting on somebody to do it, because this running these guys into the hole at 26, 7 years old, it doesn't seem to be working.
Which is also another reason Chris missed out on his Ezekiel Elliott window.
Yeah.
Potentially.
I mean,
remember
when I turned 27, everything went downhill. So. It's true.
She's not watching, right?
I'm not talking about that.
Oh, I thought maybe that's when he got married or something, you know?
Now, there is some outliers out there. Mark Ingram, Adrian Peterson, and Henry could be that guy, but I'm not going to be on that side of the fence waiting on it.
Chris, you got a hot take?
Well, yeah, I was just looking. I guess next year, like in the redraft leagues, if Cam Akers is available, like between Jacobs and CAH and Aaron Jones, I'll definitely be taking Cam. I think he's going to be a little sophomore breakout above all else.
Yeah, I like a lot of Cam Akers.
Especially just looking at like same head coach, different quarterback. But you know what Todd Gurley was doing, I think Cam Akers is going to just step right in there.
I just hope McVay commits to him.
Which
he did at the end of the year a little bit.
Yeah. So,
I think he just said a couple days ago he's an every down back once again.
Coach speak.
Always. Well, I've got a quick hot take for you as well, and that is to sell Travis Kelsey. I know I already talked about how I did it this past offseason, but if you're playing in a dynasty league or you own Travis Kelsey in our House of Cards league, whatever it is, I don't know what happened to Drew when he turned 27. That's a whole nother podcast, different day. We don't have time to get into that tonight, Drew. But for me, it's sell Travis Kelsey. Dynasty is all about the value of a player, whether that means you're buying a player, selling a player, holding a player. We've kind of talked about like the draft picks and not really understanding quite yet where that value is in our league. But that's what it's all about. That's what dynasty leagues are all about, is really just capitalizing on the correct value at the right time. Travis Kelsey just had one of the greatest seasons of all time of tight ends. So his value will most likely never be higher than what it is right now. So I've got some stats. Travis Kelsey ended second in receiving yards to Stephon Diggs in the whole NFL this year. Travis Kelsey ended as in fifth in receptions. So if you're in a PPR dynasty, some dynasties are tight end premium. So 1.5 points per reception. Obviously fifth in reception is huge. Only 3 running backs and 3 wide receivers scored more fantasy points than Travis Kelsey did this year in a PPR standard league. The second best tight end, which Preston talked about earlier, Darren Waller, still had 45 points less than Travis Kelsey. And the third best tight end had nearly 150 points less than Travis Kelsey. He destroyed 315 fantasy points this year. It was outrageous. Like, if you had him on your team, you were probably making the playoffs, ideally making a deep run in the playoffs. Like, it's the greatest season of his career, one of the greatest tight end seasons of all time. Like, his value will never be higher I just don't see him topping this year. So, but on top of the value comes the age. Matt alluded to the age with running backs. I'm going to talk about the age with tight ends. Most tight ends, their peak season, so the best season they ever have, is between ages 25 and 28. And then another large portion of tight ends have their best season between ages 29 and 31. Travis Kelsey turns 32 in October of this year of the next football season. Just 2 tight ends over the age of 32 or older have ended up a top 3 tight end in fantasy points. One did it at the age 32, one did it at the age 34. Travis Kelsey can easily finish as a top 3 tight end, right? We know he's got the talent there. But if we look at the history of it, we know that this was probably his peak season at age 31. The likelihood of him being a number 1 tight end 1 for the 7th straight season, which is what it would be if you ended it in 2021, is so unlikely. Like, it's not impossible, but if we look at the age, we look at how well he's done, regression feels like inevitable at this point in time. I think we sell Travis Kelsey right now where he's at, the highest value you can get him at. It's your last opportunity to sell him this high, this offseason. I wouldn't wait till the next year. I wouldn't wait till draft season. I would try to sell him now when it's fresh in everyone's minds that Travis Kelsey just had the best season he had. So that's my hot take going into this offseason. We are going to sell Travis Kelsey if you have him. I don't have him in any dynasty leagues, so I won't be selling him. But if I did, I would be looking to sell him. So that's our hot takes for this year. I know we're kind of running up to time, but I want to give everyone – I appreciate you guys just jumping on it and doing some roundtable with me. I want to give you guys all an opportunity one last time. Plug your stuff. You guys all have different things going on, different companies that you're running, different outside fun like podcasts that you're doing. So Matt, go ahead. You get us started. Tell us where people can find you and what you're up to.
Twitter handle at LaRue_Matt. Blue Stem Pointers on Facebook. That's kind of my side gig. We're closing up our hunting season here. I think I'm actually done guiding for the year. We've got some exciting stuff coming up. I think we're going to hook up with our good friend Kylie Moore, Threads and More, get some merchandise out. I think I got some koozies on the way, and maybe a hat or two. Going to run some contests. Get on my Facebook page, find the Orvis link. We are trying to run a contest for our male Festus and get him on the cover of Orvis. I'm sorry that it costs money. I did not expect that. I was hoping it was just going to be a social media vote, but it does cost $1 per vote. That runs clear through the end of April, so it's quite a long contest. We're going to try to maybe get some merchandise or something out to guys that actually donate to that cause. And so a little bit of but that'd be pretty cool to get him on the cover of Orvis. We got another big announcement coming. And I'll for the people that are on, I'll go ahead and spoil it, but we are studying him out here in just a couple weeks. And so we will have our first litter of pups through him. And I kid you not, guys, this is a very outstanding dog, and we'll do a lot of more advertisements. But this is if you're into this at all, Preston, I know you are a little bit. This is something that guys want to pay attention to because this is going to be pretty special when it's all said and done. So check me out, Instagram as well, but Blue Stem Pointers.
Excellent. And maybe we need to do a contest between us for money gets the votes. We won't tell anybody where the money goes, but give me $1. That counts as a vote. Yes, please go ahead and what I'll try to do after this as well as is go ahead and share that too through the Rumbles of Red Facebook page too. Chris, where can we find you?
Yeah, so everything at Homefront CG recently made a switch from Keller Williams to Platinum Realty, but nothing's going to change. Still doing the same real estate. So if anybody has any questions, you can still reach me at my cell phone, 620-212-0221. Anywhere, all over the United States, I can just answer any questions you have. So just text me or call me. Let me know.
And Preston?
Yeah, so I'm in insurance. So I've got a page on Facebook. It's Preston Page Shelter Insurance. So if you have any insurance needs, feel free to reach out. Also, a group of buddies and we kind of started this new group. It's called 6-2 Outdoors. We're in the hunting industry. We recently started a podcast. It's called the Modern Outdoorsman Podcast. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, many of your main streaming platforms. We just get on there, kind of BS and talk hunting. I'm on Twitter, but I'm not very active, so I wouldn't recommend that. But that's all I got.
You guys remember when Joe Burrow got drafted and he had like I don't remember, the 310 or something that had the state of Ohio? 6-2-0 outdoor. We're just going to get a state of Kansas, a 6-2-0 out. Just be like Joe Burrow,
That's right.
I thought about that. It worked with Ohio because Ohio is so small that 3 numbers. Kansas, like, too long. It's not going to work.
So that's actually our first logo was the state of Kansas, but like it was just too big. We couldn't do anything with it.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on. I'll also throw out those again on Facebook. Preston Page, Shelter Insurance, at Homefront CG. Find Chris there, and at Blue Stem Pointers. Go on there. Help Matt out. Help Festus get on Orphis front page. You can find them on Twitter as well. You can find me all over social media, on Facebook at The Rumbles of Red. If you're listening here live on YouTube, again, please subscribe. Hit the like button on your way out. Follow me on Twitter at Trev's Fantasy Pod. We're on Apple, Spotify, Google. 5-star reviews. Look up Modern Outdoorsman. Go ahead and give them 5-star review. Subscribe to everything, of course. And I will be back next Thursday live with the up-and-comer in the Dynasty industry. He's a Dynasty writer for DLF. Dynasty work there. Dynasty League Football is what DLF stands for. He'll come on. He'll answer a bunch of Dynasty questions, so feel free. Join us then. Ask all your Dynasty questions next week. Gentlemen, again, thank you for joining me. Appreciate it. Thanks for joining us in the chat, everyone. We'll see you next week.